Welcome to Your Brand Amplified, the podcast where we interview marketers, publicists, and brands to learn their stories, what makes them tick, and tips and tricks that make a difference. Thank you for coming to another episode of Your Brand Amplified. And today I have the one and only Atiba de Souza with me, who is the content superman. His hat even shows that. So Atiba, I want to hear your story because you're such a superstar in the world of SEO and content, something we all need to understand. Mm-hmm. And you were doing this before we even knew what SEO was. So take us back. How did you fall into, or what were you doing in your schooling and your career that became this content creation master?
Well, first, thank you for that. And thank you for having me. It is such a pleasure to be here and to share with you guys. I really look forward to this opportunity. So let's jump into the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
Right. I got my DeLorean. Well, I can take you even further back to 1996. So I actually started writing code in the 7th grade.
Wow.
And y'all know I was a geek. All right. Let's just call it what it was. Okay. Right. And a friend of mine and I actually in the 8th grade wrote a casino, and we had poker and roulette and, believe it or not, Go Fish.
I love that.
You'd be surprised how hard Go Fish actually is to program, though.
Oh my gosh.
So we did this, and this was 91. Right? And in 91, what were video games back then? And here we were as 8th graders, and we created this program with graphics and everything else. We ended up staying friends, and we went to high school together and so on and so forth. And then we ended up starting a business together by the time we graduated high school. And back then it was called a computer consulting firm, because that's what everything was. It was computer consulting, right? Because nobody ever knew what that really meant.
Right.
Kind of a catch-all.
Yeah, right. We're about the same vintage. So those days of the internet, I always joke that I was doing influencer marketing before that was a thing, because I launched a dance music magazine a few years after this time frame, and I had to go into music chat rooms to find my street team, which I call the Revolutionaries, because there was no other way to find these people.
Right.
And it wasn't like today where you have all these influencer websites and stuff. So not to digress, but
and that's a great story too. So we in the DeLorean together, my dear. Yeah. we in it, right? And so we had this company, and we were in a place where we were building stuff and doing stuff for clients, and the web was still brand new. Right? 95. The web was still like super brand new. And we were finding all these great websites and learning all this stuff. And we were using browsers that don't even exist anymore, that had, browsers today still don't do bookmarks well. They did it worse back then. And we were like, how do we keep track of all of this information and find it? Because we were spending so much time trying to find information that we'd already found. Right? And that was the genesis of us creating a search engine. Now, we didn't call it a search engine. Search engine term wasn't even a real thing back then. Right. And we thought we were pretty hot stuff because we sold it to a few clients, and we made a whopping $2,000. And we thought we were hot stuff, like cutting edge, making the money.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started, to be honest with you. And so I've been in search ever since, in one way, shape, or form. Took that company, we ended up actually started doing government contracting and building massive systems for the government, search systems. I love people talking about data analytics, and AI is nothing more than data analytics. We've been doing data analytics since literally the 90s, and just building systems that master data.
Yeah.
Right. And help people find the data that they were looking for. Got burnt out in the government, as most people do, because they spend a lot of money and waste a lot of money. And that just wasn't why we were in it. And I left government and went private sector in 95, 96-ish, when Google was having a real problem of spammers. There were lots and lots of spammers who were figuring out how to get their trashy content at the top, clickbait content at the top of Google search. And that's not what Google wanted. Well, I saw the problem pretty clearly because I understood from the inside out.
Right.
And so we then created a spec and helped small businesses for the next 13 years or so to rank their content on page 1 of Google. That took us all the way through 2019 when I got burnt out. And I was tired.
Yeah.
And I literally said to my wife, I think I'm done. I think I'm just done. I think I'm just done. I think I'm just done. And then 2020 hit. So that was the end of 19, and 2020 hit. And we all know what happened. And clients started to scatter, staff started to scatter. And I said, I think I'm done. But I'm a constant reader. And I was reading a book by Sean Cannell on YouTube. And as I'm reading this book in 2020 by Sean Cannell on YouTube, I'm listening to Sean talk about the success that he's had on YouTube. And I realized that what Sean did was he actually was using a subset of the system that we were using to rank content on page 1 of Google to be successful on YouTube. And I said, holy crap. Actually 18, I'd written a paper for one of my clients saying, hey, video is the future. Would you fund us to do the research? They said, no. So it died. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy crap, Sean's doing what we did. And so we went into research and development for a year and a half on changing our spec to make it for video and proving that we could get videos that are published on YouTube to rank on page 1 of Google. And that's where we've been ever since.
Wow. Well, and as we all know, if you do anything in social media, you have to do video.
Yep.
Every algorithm is changing constantly. And even on YouTube, we're seeing video podcasting. Spotify has video podcasting as an option, all these different platforms, because they know that people want their content delivered that way.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a huge shift, but I don't think people really think about it in terms of SEO value as much as they should.
They don't, because it's the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
You know, people didn't think about SEO in 2005, 2007, heck, even 2009, right? It was the wild, wild west. Mm-hmm. And it was only the few who knew and were doing something for their clients or for their own products to get to the top of page 1. You get into 2010s and up to 2020, and everybody's talking SEO. Mm-hmm. I mean, even mid 2010, 2017, it was like, oh, SEO is dead, because it got so flooded and saturated with everybody trying to get in, right? And now we're back in this cycle again, where video is where written SEO was in 2005 right now.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. And so there's major opportunity, but nobody realizes it. And that's the beauty for you who are listening to us right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're listening, and even if you're hearing this for the first time, what I want you to hear right now is you have a major, major opportunity at hand in this moment. One that hasn't existed in almost 20 years. And it may not exist again for another 20 years, but you have an opportunity right now with video to make a major difference for your company and your company's positioning in the world.
Hey, that eye contact, you just sold me. You sold me with your message and your eye contact, 100%.
But hold on, just stay right there. That's the point of video. Yeah. That's why video is so effective, right? Because with video, and I say this all the time, it's the fastest path to revenue, because there's no other medium that allows you to connect with the viewer, with the reader, like video. Yeah. They can feel you. And then they'll say, I'm in, I'm sold.
Yeah. So talk about that, because I know I get inundated every day with people who are like, oh, you have a podcast. We'll repurpose your video for you. We'll do this. We'll do that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I have somebody on my team who makes the little videos for us to put on socials and all that stuff. And we're editing the bigger videos together to put on YouTube eventually, maybe in another couple weeks. But yeah, honestly, some of the people listening to this, you know, they were alive in 2005, but they definitely were not doing SEO back then, knowing that concept. So talk about video SEO. How is video like written SEO was in 2005? And then a whole bunch of other questions for you after that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to start where you started, actually. And there are a lot of people who are repurposing content right now. And you may be listening, you may have content, you may be repurposing content right now. And you're thinking, okay, I'm repurposing content, so am I doing it? No, you're not. Okay. As a matter of fact, if I consider the word repurposing to be a 4-letter word.
Okay.
That's how much I don't like it. Okay.
Awesome.
Because I'm not saying this to disparage anyone or what you're doing, right? Because you're listening to your content, you're cutting it up into what sounds good, nice sound bites and all of that type of stuff, and you're putting that out there. That has zero SEO value. Okay. So now let's talk about what it means to have SEO value.
Yes.
Right. In order to understand what it means to have SEO value, the thing that you have to understand is, what is it that the search engine that you're trying to gain position in, what is it that's important to them? Right? So we're talking about Google. Now, what is important to Google? Google wants to make sure that they deliver valuable content quickly to a searcher. That's what they measure. Did they get what they want, and how long did it take for them to get it? Did they have to go to 5 different websites? Fine. Let's get rid of top 4 and only put number 5 up next time for that search. That's how Google thinks. Okay. Now, we've all heard the term valuable content before, and it's one of these nebulous terms. What does it actually mean? The definition is so ridiculously simple that you probably want to slap me when I tell you. Okay. And here it is. What Google realizes is that your customer, my customer, everyone's customer, you and I, when we go to Google, we are asking a question. Mm-hmm. We are asking a question. And so valuable content is the content that answers the question that I have asked. That's it. That's it. So now, when you're looking at a podcast or a video that you've done, sure, you can just go repurpose it and cut it up. Mm-hmm. But in order to get it to rank on Google, you have to ask this question. What question would someone have asked in order for me to say this, whatever is in your video? If you can find that here, and this was a real question that someone would have typed into Google, then, my friend, you have found the formula to ranking your videos on Google and mastering video SEO.
Wow. I think that's the question people are not thinking of. That's the question people are leaving out.
Yes.
Now, I'd love to hear then how you turn that in, because I know for my podcast actually helped me get my .com. I have the Your Brand Amplified trademark in the US, but I was not able to get the .com. And the .com adds a lot more value than a .co or other things, because those tended to get into people's spam filters. The .com was going to somebody in another country's branding company. But because I've been consistent with the podcast, go to Google page one, almost everything is the podcast. My podcast, the website, other people posting that they were on the podcast. So I got notified that the .com was now available and I was able to grab it. So that showed me the power of SEO.
Absolutely.
Really so clearly. And I know it's not a quick thing, right? You have to build it up. You have to make sure you're being consistent and using the right words. But then that's for just the podcast, the audible interviews. For the video stuff, so you think about when you're creating the short form videos, what questions somebody can ask that's going to lead them to your content. So then how do you incorporate that into content? Is it in the hashtags, into tags? I'm not a technical person. I'm not the back, I don't code. I don't do that stuff.
Right. It's a great question. You want to know how simple this answer is? This is another one of those. This answer is so simple that you're going to smack me. Okay. So I'm going to look at this in two different ways, if that's okay. So number one, if you're at the place of content ideation and you haven't created the content yet, right? Then the thing that you need to do before you create the content is consider this question, right? What question would somebody have asked in order for me to say this? And then go say that. So now once you have the content, you already know the question, you've got the content. It makes it so much easier to splinter that content into SEO friendly short form video. That's number one, if you haven't done it already.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you've done it already, you've got to do that exercise of figuring out the question, finding where you said what, and putting it all together. Now, let's take both of those a little bit further, because this is where they now come together. And we're going to take both of those a little bit further. You have a few things. Number one, you have the title of the video. The title of the video must be the question.
Okay.
Number two, you have the description of the video. The description of the video, especially on YouTube, the first two sentences must repeat the question. Number three, you still have the rest of the description of the video. YouTube just lengthened the length of the description of the video. You can almost put a full blog post in there now. Wow. So do it right. Cover everything you talked about in the video.
Yeah.
Repeat the question in different words in the description. Right. 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 Say it one more time. Right. Okay. Now, the next thing, and this is not included in my list because it's kind of nebulous. The jury's out. People always ask about hashtags, right? Oh, should I put hashtag in my YouTube captions? So here's the deal. I have heard from two reliable sources inside of YouTube. One said hashtags are dead. The other one said, we still look at hashtags.
So, yeah.
Okay. So we tell everybody, use the hashtags. We have no idea if they're actually effective. Okay. Wow. But they don't hurt. That we know. Okay. Now, the last two pieces, and these are two super critical and often overlooked things that people don't do. I've seen people, they'll get the title right. They'll get the description right. They'll even put hashtags, but they'll miss these two. And they'll say, my video still won't rank. Do these two. Do these two. Okay. Number one, you must transcribe your video and upload the video. Now, this only works if it's not short form, because YouTube will not let you upload the transcript for a short form yet. I don't know why, but they don't. Okay. They'll auto transcribe it for you. That's their prerogative. But if it's longer than a minute on YouTube, you must transcribe the video yourself and upload the transcription. Okay. Now, you're going to get lazy and look at me and say, hey, but there's a button here that says auto transcribe. Don't you dare push that. Don't you dare. Because here's what happens when you push the auto transcribe. Yeah, YouTube will auto transcribe your audio and it's about 60% accurate. Guess what? You don't get to choose which 40% it gets inaccurate. Yikes. So could be the most important part or the least important part.
Well, and there are a lot of AI tools that can transcribe for you. And then you obviously still have to go in and make sure, but then you know what's going to be up there before it's up there. And that's one thing I've heard also for podcasts. People are putting the transcriptions in the podcast show notes too, just to get that extra.
Absolutely. It's a big thing for podcasting right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the one thing that you must do, transcribe. And as you said, there's a tool. My favorite tool is Descript. That's the one we use to transcribe everything for all of our clients. Okay. Descript. All right. So that's the one thing you have to do. And then here's the second one. And this is the one that I'm not even gonna lie to you. I screw up sometimes and have to realize, oh, crap, I screwed it up. We know what the video is about. We know the question that we're answering.
Right.
And so often we'll start the video and say, hey, we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. And we'll say the question. And that's the last time we'll say it. You have to repeat the question.
Yeah.
Multiple times in the video. Not every 30 seconds, but every 2 to 3 minutes. Repeat the question. Repeat it. Okay?
Yeah.
Do those things. Your videos will rank.
I feel like I'm getting a master's degree graduate school class right now. This is definitely going to be one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because I also do a lot of webinars and trainings virtually. And so now I know some tips that I might not have been incorporating as much as I should into those so that when I do put them up, that they can rank higher too. So, and I think I read something, we are like the cobbler with no shoes many times.
Yes.
So I'm always curious, like, okay, what do I need to be doing for my own stuff so that it gets out to the right people? Just like we do for a client.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that reality.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've gotten this renewed excitement and energy around your work because of this shift to video.
Yeah. The shift to video is great. And truthfully, it allows for those of us who are true experts in our field to actually show up as experts and have a fair advantage again.
Nice.
That had gone away for a long time, or it become very, very hard or very, very expensive.
Yeah. There's so many people who say they do SEO and they say they do this and they do that. And then, I've had experiences where I've gotten clients from somebody who's doing their SEO and it's like, oh, bringing me in as the PR person to help on that side. And then they're calling me. I'm not getting report. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not getting information.
Listen, it's unfortunate. I spoke at an event once and this was a big multinational event. And I was there to talk about video and they brought in their resident SEO expert and half of what he said was a lie.
Wow, that's scary.
And his credentials were he used to work for Google on their engineering team. And half of what he said was a lie. And the other half was outdated.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I'm sorry for you who are listening. And if you've run into that, I'll be honest with you and straight. What I just taught you, that's exactly what we do on every single video.
Amazing.
That's what we do.
So do you work with all levels of clients? Do you mostly work with larger clients? Do you work with startups? Do you work with nonprofits? Do you work with small businesses who might not have big budgets, but need to learn these and need an expert to guide them? Because otherwise they're going to do it completely wrong the first time and have to pay somebody to go in and redo it all.
Yeah. So it's a great question. And the answer to that question is yes and no.
Okay.
And so let me explain that to you. Yeah. So we have different tiers. At our top tier of white glove service, it's really reserved for someone who has a large marketing budget, who's already spending quite a bit on marketing and is looking to really ramp that up. Okay. And in that, we take care of everything. We come in, we do everything for you. Right. And then we step down from there. And so we have what we call the done with you tier of services. So for example, if you came as someone just this week and was like, yeah, I'm not ready for your top tier. I'm just really starting, but I need a content strategy. Great. Well, someone started calling me the video content Superman, and because we do lots of content strategy. And so we'll do a content strategy for you, right? And give you a content strategy that will last you for the next 2 years. Wow. And so you got 2 years of content strategy to go play with if you were to create video every single week. Okay. So we have that tier at the done with you. Likewise, if you've got podcast or video that you've already done and you're like, hey, I want to get this splintered and I want this to end up on page 1. Well, we've got services courses on our Done With You that will help you there as well. And now we're also developing a DIY level for those who are more in the startup phase and haven't even started creating video. And hey, I'm not even trying to crawl, man. I'm just trying to get on all fours right now. Right. And in our DIY tier, what we're actually building is an AI tool that will help you do what we do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. You're on the East Coast, but have you worked with people all over the United States, all over the world?
All over the world.
The whole company? Yeah.
All over the world. Yeah.
Yeah. How did things shift for you during the pandemic? I mean, because I know we were talking a little bit about that, what happened, and teams leaving, clients leaving, and then new opportunities presenting themselves.
Yeah. So the pandemic was such a fun time. So as I said, it was end of 2019 when I was just feeling really burnt out. My wife and I took a vacation February of 2020. And I was just like, yeah, I think this is it. I think I'm done. I think this is where it's over now. And she said, okay, no problem. This was early February of 2020. And then a month later or so, the world shut down. Right. And I took that as a sign that, hey, cool. Like, okay, I see it. I'm in. Right. And I was happy, but I wasn't happy about that. I wasn't happy about the staff scattering and so on and so forth. Right. And it was really two things. It was one, the book that I told you about, the Sean Cannell book on YouTube. And then at the same time, meeting a gentleman who I actually was trying to hire to be a coach for my wife. And then I ended up using him instead, Qasim Aslam. And he was just like, dude, you've got too much to share to stop.
Yeah, well, that's obvious.
Well, thank you. And so it was the genesis of those two things coming together, right? Of me looking and saying, okay, what would this look like if we were to do this again? How would we do this differently? How would we have more fun? And how would we build this time again? Because most of it had all fallen apart. And what hadn't fallen apart, I eventually went and said to those clients that, look, we're switching to video and either you're coming with us or you're going away. And we lost a lot of business.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple six figures of business gone on that switch. And this is me. I'm either all in or all out. Like, I don't go halfway. Right. And so when we made the switch to video, it was like, we're all in on video, all in on video. It's so hysterical because since I've made that switch for years, I've had tons and tons of writers. Since we made that switch, I've not been able to hire a good writer.
Really?
Yeah. Like somehow I forgot how to hire a good writer. I can only hire good video editors at this point. So yes, that's a lot of what happened. And we spent all of that time. And for anyone who's listening to this and sounds storytelly, it's not. Okay. This was my money funding all of this from savings in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. And what I mean by that was I ended up hiring in a staff and saying, okay, if we're going to do this, we need to do market research. We spent a year building a group on Facebook and doing market research.
Wow.
Asking real business owners questions.
Yeah.
While I was teaching them SEO for free. So that was my trade-off. I'm going to teach you SEO for free, and you're going to answer any of my whimsical questions that I want to ask you. Right? But that's how we learned what their challenges were with video so that we could create the offer that we've eventually created that has become irresistible.
Yeah. So there's a couple other questions that I have regarding this. One is, how does SEO translate into social media and how people repurpose? Because I'm all about the integrated marketing solutions. When I started my company, actually 2019, 2020 is when I started building up a lot of clients during the pandemic.
Look at you. Awesome.
Thank you. But so I started out thinking I was just going to do PR. And then I quickly realized, well, people don't even know who they are as a brand yet.
Right.
And we need to take them along this journey
to
get to the point where they can have marketing and PR that corresponds with who they are, that really shows up in a full integrated cycle.
Yes.
So talk about that. How do you dominate social media with your brand, and how does SEO and video play into that?
So it's a really, really great question. And today's a really great day to ask that question.
Oh, okay.
And you'll see why in just a moment. And for those of you who are listening, today's not the day for you because you're listening to this sometime in the future. And so you've moved very far ahead of what I'm about to tell you right now. Okay. So just bear with us. But understand that today in real time, this is a really good day to ask this question. So here's the deal. Google has a problem. And Google's problem is, and I'm not talking about ChatGPT, which we can talk about for quite some time too, but Google's problem, even before ChatGPT and OpenAI, was and is the video revolution that happened throughout the pandemic. right? People read before the pandemic. People stopped reading in the pandemic and they haven't gone back and they're not going to go back. What that has done is it created a situation for Google where I've got search terms and I've got people who are searching for stuff and they want answers and they prefer to consume it in video form, but I don't have the library of videos to actually serve to them.
Interesting.
Okay. So Google has a major problem. Now, how are they solving that problem? Well, obviously, you're seeing way more YouTube videos popping up because Google owns YouTube on the top of search, which is where our specialty is and what we do.
Right.
But then something happened in the third quarter, beginning of fourth quarter last year. We started seeing TikTok videos showing up in Google search.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. TikTok videos on page one, because Google is in such a dearth for video content that they're willing to show a rival like TikTok on top of page one so that they can keep people on their platform, on their search engine. Okay. So why is that such a big deal for today? Because we recognized this last year. And so I said in December, I said, we're going to figure this out. And we started in January testing the algorithm and putting out TikTok videos in deliberate form and fashion to see if we can get them to rank on page one of Google. And today was the first day one of them ranked number one on Google. Okay. And so by the time you watch this, we'll have a lot more than one that have ranked on page one and or number one on Google. And we will be that much closer to understanding the algorithm, much like we understand the algorithm, how to get a YouTube video to rank on page one of Google. So follow me for a moment. You're going to be able to take a video that you create on YouTube. You shoot a long form piece of content, you put it on YouTube, you follow my system, we get that video to rank. Then you splinter that video into short form content, 1 minute or less. And then you put that on YouTube short, following the same system that I told you. Then we can get that short form video to rank. Then we can take that same short form video, go to TikTok. Once we figure out the TikTok formula and master the TikTok formula, then also get that video, same video, to rank on page one of Google. Now, same search term, you've got 3 videos on page one of Google.
Amazing.
Just stop and think about that for a moment. What does your prospect feel about you right now?
Yeah.
When they see that, right? At that moment, they realize you are an expert in your field.
This is what's really interesting. I mean, I was just having a conversation with a client yesterday, and we were talking about their social strategy and who they really want to get in the room for their services, for their nonprofit. And another person had come in and started doing TikTok, and we're like, that's not quite the right audience for you, but now I'm going to reposition it as this.
Yes.
If it fits with the rest of the strategy we're laying out. But I like the way that you're talking about the YouTube videos, making it to YouTube Shorts, and then moving it over to TikTok so that you can really own all of those. And then does Instagram Reels play into this at all or not? Because I know a lot of people take TikTok videos, I mean, ourselves included, and then turn them into Reels. Some versa.
So Reels don't rank in Google.
Nice. Okay.
So there isn't much value there because Google's not ranking it. And so you can still use it for Reels, obviously, right? And we'll teach you to do that, but it doesn't play for the SEO value. And the LinkedIn algorithm has been so hit or miss that we don't rely on it for the SEO value. You can get SEO value from LinkedIn posts, but it's too hit or miss, in my opinion.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And let's talk about TikTok for a moment, because I'm very much like you. So number one, I hate TikTok. Let me just come out and say it. Okay. Like I talk to people all the time and they tell me, oh, I get stuck in TikTok for an hour. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How? 30 seconds later. And I'm just like, please, do you know how many times I've uninstalled the app on my phone?
I should not admit this, but sometimes I'll have friends say, oh, I saw that video you posted on TikTok. And I'm like, I didn't do that. My teammate did that. I don't know. They just post stuff on my account for me, but I don't pay that much attention to it. So I don't know what.
No, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Right. And so that's where I am with TikTok. However, here's the reality of TikTok. And here's why TikTok matters. And is important. Twofold. Number one, Google is the largest intent-based search engine in the world.
Yeah.
TikTok is growing to become number 2 real fast.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Real fast. It's happening. And so understanding that people are going to start using TikTok as a search engine tells you right there,
wow,
I need to get my content in it. Okay.
Yep.
The next point is your ideal customer may not be on TikTok at work. Mm-hmm. Your ideal customer may not be on TikTok consuming the type of content that you're producing normally, right? Yeah. They may be a LinkedIn person or an Instagram person, and that's all well and fine. That's all well and fine, right? However, more and more people are going to the platform. More and more people are going to the platform, and your competition isn't. Real talk for a moment.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was in the top 100,000 tweeters in the world.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I was an influencer on Twitter at one point in time. Guess what? I didn't understand the value, realize the value of it, and I stopped. I've not sent out a tweet in 13 years. Okay.
Well, now is not the time to come back to Twitter.
Now is not the time to come back. But my point is, imagine if I'd never stopped. Yeah. Where I would have been today, what my influence would have been today. That's where you are with TikTok right now, right? Your audience may not be there today, but I guarantee you in the next 3 or 4 years, they will. And you have an opportunity to show up big now so that when they get there, you're already there like, hey, come on in, we got you.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people also look at TikTok and, oh, I've missed the boat. Everything that's been done will be done. YouTube, all the different social channels, because there's always the new shiny object coming out. But you're saying, again, that consistency piece. Make sure you're on the platforms, be consistent, show up, and they'll find you. And this leads me into the next question I was going to ask you about customer journey. In sales, it takes multiple touches and touch points, cultivate. I teach digital media and PR at USC Annenberg as well. And so thinking about attribution models and all those different, all the different things. So talk to us about how all of this plays into the customer journey.
So number one, I absolutely love the customer value journey. Okay. And it's hard to have a conversation with me and not swirl around to customer journey. And when you understand content and understand that you need content, you need video content specifically at every stage of your customer's journey with you, right? So for example, if you called me, we got on a Zoom and we agreed that I was going to do a content strategy for you. When we do that content strategy for you, what you're going to get back is a strategy, and it's going to have on every single line item, okay, the stage of the customer journey that content should relate to. Okay. Because you have to understand that content is all connected to each other. So let me break this down for you here. We've kind of simplified it into why, how, and what. Why, how, what. There's why content. That why content is more of that philosophical. Why is this important? Why do you need to do this? Why is this going to change the world, your world, or your child's world, whatever it is, right? And that's the content that allows you to connect with your audience. That's usually the first content that they need to see, that why content, because the why content also helps them realize that value-wise, we're aligned. We're in alignment, right? Well, guess what? If you've created why content and they like your why content should point them to your how content. Okay. Now the how content tells them and teaches them how we do something. Guess what? I did that with you earlier today. I told you how to get a video to rank.
Yep.
Okay. Right. We started off, if you think about this interview that you're listening to right now, we started off with why, we went to how, right? And then your how content should point to the what content. Now, the what content is where most people get it wrong, because most people think all I need to create is what content, because the what content is what gets people to actually contact you. And it's like, hey, buy my things. Reach out to me now. That's not what people want right away, right? They got to go through why, how, and then what, because by the time they get to what, they've learned to know you, like you, and they trust you. And once they trust you, they're willing to part ways with their money. If you get in the sales cycle and every sale you've ever lost, if you know that what you had would help that person, the reason you lost it is because they did not trust you. Guarantee you. Oh, but they didn't have enough money. Guess what? If they trusted you enough, they would have found the money.
Good point. There's so many gems in everything that you've said, and that's definitely one of them that I'm pulling out. And I'm like, okay, as I said earlier, is definitely going to rank up with as one of my favorite, most impactful interviews that I've done in the 2.5 years.
Wow.
120 odd, whatever episodes that I have out so far. Yeah.
That is super high praise. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No, the way you've laid everything out and really explained, like you've simplified the process of SEO, and not everybody comes on and does that, So I think you've just given so much value to us. So thank you for that today.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure to share.
Yeah. I mean, I want to have you back on at a future date so we can talk more about the next phase. Like, once you get through this video phase, like what is next after video, or how has video changed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All of that stuff. So is there anything that we didn't cover today that you think is important for the audience to know? And then also, how do they follow you? How do they find you? How do they work with you?
Yeah, great question. And yes, there is something that's really important.
Yeah.
Listen, one, I'm glad that you're still here with us. Okay. Still listening. Awesome. Thank you for that. I really, really appreciate that. We both do, to be honest. But that doesn't really mean anything unless you go take action right now.
Exactly.
Right? You've got to take action. You're going to miss the boat on video if you don't start right now. Now, I know that probably leaves you with a bunch of questions, right? And you're probably going to ask, Atiba, but how? How do I start? What do I do? Well, here's what I want you to do. What I want you to do is reach out to me. Go to Meet Atiba, ATIB as in boy, A.com. Meetatiba.com. That's going to take you directly to my LinkedIn. When you get there, okay, if you're on your phone, you're going to hit the three little dots, ellipse. You're going to go to hit that and then come down to connect and send me a message and connect with me. Send me a message. Tell me you saw me on this show. Connect with me. Ask me your question. Let me help you. I want to talk to you one-on-one. If you're on a computer, it's not going to be three little dots. I'm going to say more. Click the more and then go to connect. Send me a message. Let's talk. I want to help you.
Awesome. Wow. I'm digesting everything. I've taken a lot of notes. I'm going to have to re-listen to this episode 5 million times. And honestly, I don't usually do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Atiba, thank you so much for being here today. My last question, do you have a phrase or a motto, a poem, a verse, some words that you live by?
Yeah. Get it done.
And there we have it, folks.
That's simple.
Yeah. Awesome. Atiba, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you to our audience for listening to another episode with a truly amazing, I know I say every expert speaker who comes on is an expert in their field, but this conversation just resonated so deeply with me. It's everything that we all need to know, whether you are a small business, an entrepreneur, or you are in marketing, PR, sales. This is so relevant to what you're doing today. So I'm just going to put another plug in, reach out to Atiba, meetatiba.com, take you to his LinkedIn, and video. Get started now. And with that, I'll be back again in another few days with another fantastic guest for you. Want more? Check out amplifywithannika.com or follow me on socials at amplifywithannika.